General Schwartz, the Cowboy fans will never forgive you for attacking Roger Staubach, but I think you made up for it in those 35 years of incredible service to our country. Aren't you proud to get to know three people like this? Just a few years ago, I'd never dreamed I'd have the honor of being on the same platform with three great Americans who, between them, have served our country in the military 78 years. They've made a difference for our country. Would you join me? And thank you is the most important thing I want to say today. Thank you for being here. Even more importantly, thank you for being people who, so many of you, put on our nation's uniform and were willing to risk your life to defend our country. It is such an honor to be in the presence of so many people who have done so much to defend our country. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. I want to say thank you as voters in this district for giving me the privilege of partnering with you and our national veterans and military organizations to stand up for those who have stood up for us. Because without your trust, all the things that they talked about, whether it's fighting to keep the Army 10 divisions rather than 8 divisions, or improving health care or housing for our military, or improving mental health care services for our veterans and providing more doctors and nurses so they don't have to wait so long to get the care that they've earned, all of those things, not one of them did Chet Edwards, did I do alone. Nothing good in this world ever happens just alone. But good people of good faith working together can accomplish a lot. And by giving me the privilege of voting for our district and fighting for our district, we have been able to make a real difference for our troops and our veterans. And some have said, when we started talking about veterans' health care issues last week, and the difference between my opponent and me on it, they said, well, Chet, talking about this veterans' health care issue, it's just a distraction from bigger issues. I don't think in our country there's any single issue more important than our responsibility to defend our nation. That always has been and always must be, and certainly is today, the #1 obligation of our federal government, to defend our nation from enemies abroad. And you can't defend our nation. We couldn't have the greatest military force in the history of the world were it not for the men and women that make up that force. Great equipment is important. And new technology is something our servicemen and women deserve. But you can have all the finest technology and all the equipment in the world, and it doesn't make the greatest military in the world. It's the men and women who serve. And it has been truly the finest privilege and honor of my lifetime to be able to try to just give a little bit back to those of you who've given so very, very much to my family and the American family. And because I do believe a strong national defense is our first responsibility, this has been my highest priority in the time you've given me to serve in Congress. You know, I'm proud of what we've done together in the last few years, and probably nothing has meant more to me emotionally than what the people of Somervell County in this district gave me a chance to do last year. There was a Marine gunnery sergeant from Marina, Texas, just a few miles away from my hometown, Waco. John David Fry. It's a name most Americans have never heard of, but I want Americans to know about that name. Like many in this room, when he was 18 and finished high school, he signed up to serve. He chose the Marines. He had a wife a few years later and 3 children. In 2006, our country asked Gunnery Sergeant Fry to go to Iraq. He not only went to Iraq, but he volunteered for the most dangerous duty anyone could do there. He volunteered to go out and defuse these roadside bombs that had killed hundreds and hundreds of American servicemen and women in Iraq. He defused 73 bombs while he was there, and one of them was when he volunteered to go, imagine this, father of 3 children, his family are thousands of miles away. He goes in an Iraqi home one day where the terrorists had beaten a young Iraqi child, a little boy younger than our son, and then strapped him to the living room wall with a bomb tied around his chest. And that day, John David Fry went in and saved that little boy's life and saved that family a lifetime of grief. Later, he had his hand wounded where he was offered a Bronze Star and said, "You can go home now." And he said, "No. No to both, not out of disrespect, but out of complete loyalty to our country and the men and women whose lives he had dedicated to protect." And he said, "I'm going to stay in Iraq because that's my job. That's my duty. That's what I'm doing for my country and my comrades." 7 days before John David Fry was coming home to the hugs of his family after protecting our families, a call came in from Al-Anbar province, a hot spot at the time. He didn't have to do a thing. His bags were packed. He had to do one thing: wait for the plane to bring him back home. But this incredible American raised his hand one more time and said, "Let me go do that. I can defuse those bombs better than some new soldier coming in. I can do that." So he goes out that night, defuses the first bomb, the second bomb, and gets to the third bomb. Last one he'd ever be asked to look at. What he didn't know, the terrorist had hidden and booby-trapped a fourth bomb beneath the third bomb. So when he defused that third bomb, the fourth bomb went off and killed that great American that night who saved so many other lives. In doing so, he shielded with his body the lives of 2 of his Marines that were behind him, close by him. I can never, ever, you and I can never, ever bring back what that family lost. But because you gave me the privilege of representing our district in Congress, because you gave me the privilege of being able to chair the Veterans and Military Construction Committee, I was in the right place at the right time to do what any one of you would have done in my shoes. Last year I wrote the bill, which is now the law of the land, called the John David Fry Scholarship Program, that will give his children and every military child in America who's lost a mother, father in military service, whether it's in training or in combat, since September 11th, 2001, a full GI college scholarship. And I know we can't bring back the love that family lost, but what an honor it is to be a partner with you in our country and saying to the Fry family, we will never forget the sacrifice you made. And to Malia Fry, John David's widow, that no matter what happens to you, Malia, because of your sacrifice, we're going to see, our country's going to see your children get a college education. If people ask me or people ask you why I would want to run for Congress, that's what it's all about. It's just trying to make a little difference for a country that has given a lot more to me than I could ever give back to it. Whether it's making a difference fighting for expansion of the Comanche Peak nuclear power plant, as we did several weeks ago, when we added $25 billion in nuclear loan guarantees. It won't cost the taxpayers money. That'll be paid for by fees the company pays for. Whether it's fighting for economic development in our district, I think that's important.